My dad always started with the history of Frasca. It goes back to the 1600s in Italy. So he was a comedian. So my dad's passion is aviation. He loved anything to do with flying. Simulation is aviation, flight simulation. So it just was the ideal thing where he could, make a living selling and making simulators, but enjoying aviation every day.
He actually learned to fly at the age of 14, and from then on he was just hooked. So he went into the Navy, became a flight instructor in the Navy, and he just absolutely loved flying, everything about it. So he started building simulators in the garage in his home. And as the company grew, he moved several times to larger facilities. Started out with general aviation simulation, and then just gradually grew into business aviation, military, airlines, flight schools worldwide, traveled the world, and the company just continued to grow. He was just the consummate entrepreneur. He had that personality type, very outgoing, doesn't quit, never quit. Things got tough, he got tougher.
So one of my dad's hobbies and passions is warbirds, World War II aircraft that he restored, collected, and flew. Took them to air shows, just flew them for fun, shared them with the community, the nation as a whole. My dad was a very genuine man. What you saw was who he was, and he didn't put on a front. He was also a family man. He always was there for us kids.
When Rudy was here and I first started, it really felt like we were just an extended part of the family. He always took a very personal interest in all of us. His whole life was aviation. I mean, it consumed him from waking up to going to bed at night, and on weekends it wasn't just something he did, it was who he was.
It's one of those days when I went out flying with him out to breakfast, and then he just, without telling me, did a barrel roll. And I'm like on the mic, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? You got to tell him, you got to warn me. And he's just like, you got to just expect that kind of stuff when you come flying with me. So he was a jokester. I was taking Italian in college, and he just thought I was fluent in Italian because I had like 2 semesters under my belt. And he's like, here, talk to our Italian agent on the phone. I'm like, buongiorno, it's like I didn't have all the words.
When I was in Boy Scouts, it was Dad's turn to drive us to camp, and he said to the group that was going with him, we're going in an airplane, and drove us to the airport, got in an old Stinson Reliant, and flew to the campground.
So we had a ritual sometimes of coming back from our off-site sales luncheons and going out on the runway and seeing if we could get to 100 miles per hour in one of his cars on the runway. So, and he would tell you, he goes, if we haven't hit 85 miles per hour by midway, he goes, we're not gonna make it.
After we moved to the new building about 1990, I was walking through the high bay, and Rudy stopped me and asked me how many push-ups I could do. And I was like, I don't know. He said, that's the wrong answer. The next time I ask you that question, I want the answer to be one less than you can.
I remember him walking over when we were working on a simulator, and he would look at one of our existing control loading systems, and he'd wag his head and he'd say, I used to do the same thing with a screen door closer.
Going into the break room, and every time I was there, Rudy would come in and he would want to borrow either a nickel or a dime. And of course, as years went on, the price kept going up.
He was proud of all that he built, and he loved us, he loved his family.
Things that was important to him was that we took care of the customer. He didn't want to see an unhappy customer. He was very proud of what we were doing and what the customer was acquiring.
I would hope my dad's legacy is related to aviation safety, that his contribution with simulators and in the collegiate world results in safer pilots, safer skies for generations to come.
After my dad passed away in May, people would come up to me and kind of say all these things, how he impacted their life and how he impacted their business. It just made me really proud.